it masks the bees' defense mechanism, but in reality it masks their attack mechanism. And it also, thanks to Dr. Lobitz, makes them think there is a fire in the hive, so they eat the honey and fill up their bellies, and as a result they can't bend to sting you, believe it or not.
Yeah, if you look around, you'll see there's a lot of them in the grass. They, because they're not the best flyers in the world.
The only thing you don't want to do is you really don't want to get in their flight pattern, and this is their runway right here. What we're going to do is we're going to start by smoking the hive, and basically to mask the defense pheromones, as well as it has the bees thinking that there's a fire in the hive, so they're going to eat honey and fill up, so there's less of a chance to get stung. But the way we're dressed, we're not going to get stung. So this is the box that's full of honey. So we're going to remove this box. We're going to shake the bees off and then brush whatever bees are left. And then I'm going to give the frames to Gary. We're going to put them in a different box, take them over, uncap them with an uncapping knife, put them in the extractor, spin them to spin the honey out, and then we'll actually put the frames right back in, and they'll go to work again and hopefully give us fall honey as well. This is actually a little late for the spring summer honey, but we're still going to get honey. Right now, just the first 3, but the first 2, we don't bother because that's the bees' reproductive and food source boxes. Okay. So that's their home. We don't go into their home. We go into the
there's going to be honey
apartment.
in here.
Okay.
But that's mainly where the queen lays all her eggs. That's where the brood is at.
Okay.
So you don't even. We're not going to be doing any honey removal from there.
Okay.
So here's our box. You can see the bees are all over the top of it. This is full of honey. In fact, since I last checked it, this last frame on the outside is capped. So we have 10 full frames, basically, of honey. And you can see as I'm smoking them out, they kind of get out of the way so you don't squish any, and that make it easier to work. Here.
Tom, do you want to?
So we're going to take the box off here, and what we're then going to do is put the other 2 boxes on so they can start to work on those for the fall honey. And then once we get the honey out of this box, we'll put this back on top, so hopefully we'll get 2 to 3 boxes of fall honey as well. A little faster, huh? Squish my bees. You can't believe the difference in weight with a box full of honey. Yeah, I'm gonna guess, and it's probably 40 to 50 pounds.
Now, one thing is these boxes are just stacked on here. The bees will glue them back together.
Yeah, and that's why I'm using this Hive tool to get the frames out, because each of these frames, basically every time you go in, they glue it back for you. Now that's a capped frame. We have to cut that capping off and then spin it out.
You gonna give him a shot?
Yeah. We're taking each individual frame of capped honey, and we're going to first shake the bees off and then smoke the rest, and finally the few that are left, Gary's going to brush them off the frames before we put them in the box to take over to extract. There. more to go. Great thing about this is it's a great way to lose a couple pounds.
Bernie, can you explain what that is? Can you show like the wax caps and...
Sure, so see, this is the last frame, and actually this is capped, and once they cap a frame, then it's honey that's ready for consumption. This is the last half frame that they just started to work on, but since we're emptying the box, this is actually, there's very little nectar in there, so we're not going to get any honey from that side. Tom, you see how, I mean, it sounds crazy, but like if you put these on and you want to put them on level, but if you put them on and let them sit just for a minute, like look at, see how this is just off a little, which isn't a big deal, but they glue this back so well, it's with propolis, that you have to pry it back up to move it.
Bees hate space.
So what I'm doing now is I'm taking the heated uncapping knife and just slowly taking the caps off the comb, and then we'll stick it into the extractor, and you can see you can go as shallow or as deep as you want, and in a couple of the areas, if I don't get it all, then I'll just go back and get it, but you don't want to gouge it and you don't want to take too much off, because then they just have to rebuild that much more comb before they start to put the honey in again.
The bees just disappear. And they don't know what's causing it. They've done government studies and they don't know what's causing it. The navigation system back through the hive, they can't find them in the back. That's why they say they never find them there.
That's honey ready for extraction.
What are the darker spots?
Believe it or not, they put a little pollen in there, which sometimes they do.
Look at the camera.
That's not going to hurt anything. It's better flavor. And as anybody that knows a little bit about honey and allergies, they say local honey is good for people that have allergies. Local honey, local pollen. What you want to do is, as Gary did, all the frames in going one way. So we have the top of the frames on the right side. Because of the centrifugal force, if we don't put them to the one side and all the same way, it'll spin out. Just like if you put things in a centrifuge and you don't have it equally weight distributed, it'll screw up the centrifuge, if you will.
If you look straight down, you'll see the honey starting to whip off the sides there. And what's amazing is when we're done, the frames will be completely light and all the honey will be out. One out and see if it's done.
See? Honey's gone. Now see, this will happen on occasion. You see, this is the plasticell that they started to build the comb on. And on occasion you'll get pieces that'll blow out, and then they just have to rebuild that section.
And that's why we're not spinning it too long. Like, it doesn't take long for the...
So what's going on now?
So we're just going to replace the frames. That once we have them all back in check, we'll just put the box back on and let them start rebuilding and refilling for the fall honey. So we have 6 more frames to go, and we'll just cut the cap off. And now you can see, if you look close enough, every now and then you'll get ants, and ants, bears, and just about anything else like honey just as much, if not more, than we do. So we got to get to it before the ants do. And a little trivia here. When you go down into the lower boxes, everybody thinks like Winnie the Pooh likes honey. Well, that's just a byproduct. He primarily goes after the larva. in the frames, in the lower frames, the reproductive frames. So they go after the larva and they get the honey as a bonus. And we're ready to fill our bottles or our jars with the finished product of local honey. It's a nice light golden color for the spring into summer honey. And a lot of times your fall honey is darker.
Bernie, how much honey will you get out of the frames you did today?
Out of the 10 frames, we'll probably get 3.5 gallon.
Can you hold it up? And can you say what type of plants went into this honey?
Sure. The spring and the summer honey, this is primarily from the maple trees, clover, sumac, local flowers, and even some of your vegetables, because they're going around and they're helping pollinate our plants, trees, and flowers while they're collecting nectar to make our honey.